And welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Stupid Mark Show. I'm Joe White. I'm going to talk about everything that I mark out over. And as you can see on your screen, we have a racetrack that's been converted into a football field. And we have a Walking Dead poster that we're going to talk about today. One of which will translate into wrestling, I promise you. So let's start off with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead had their big Season 8 finale last night. And it was interesting, to say the least. Of course, spoiler warning. If you're not caught up on The Walking Dead and you're watching this, why? Skip ahead a little bit to the second story, because it is an interesting one. But we're going to talk about Walking Dead first. I think it's safe to say that the last two seasons of The Walking Dead now, seasons 8 and 7, were not the best for the series. Season 6 had a real big cliffhanger ending that a lot of people didn't like. A lot of people didn't like the cliffhanger. I don't mind the cliffhanger, to tell you the truth. But then again, I did not start watching the series until season 7. I literally, after the season 6 cliffhanger, the buzz about it online is what got me interested. Because I'll be honest with you, until I heard about the big cliffhanger, I could give two shits about Walking Dead. It was Negan's character. It was Jeffrey Dean Morgan that got me into this series, that caused me to go back over the span of, literally, it was the weekend after the season 6 finale aired. It got me, I watched the finale of season 6 and I was like, okay, I got to go back and see what led to this. So within the span of 2 days, because I was sick as a dog, I sat in bed and did nothing but binge watch The Walking Dead. I binge watched 6 seasons of this show in a matter of about 2 to 3 days. And I was hooked. It's a damn good show despite what people say. It's getting damn good ratings despite what people say. You have the ratings falling off the mark? Yes. But, they're still getting, to translate this into wrestling a little, they're getting better ratings than WWE. They're getting about 1 million more, maybe 2 million more viewers ahead of what WWE is getting. So if a show who has been on the air for, over 25 years is steadily holding threes, high 2s, low 3s, mid 3s, then a show that's been running for, and that's 52 days a year, 52 weeks a year. But if you take a show that goes for 16 weeks out of the year, and it's getting better ratings than the average rating of that, then that's a good thing. And it's making AMC a ton of money. So let's go through some of the big things that hit this year. Obviously, it was All Out War. Last season was the March to War. Now we got our All Out War. And the show really did kick off with a bang. I mean, I think it really did in the first episode. And I think that there were a lot of, I don't want to say there were a lot of filler in this season, because there wasn't. But I do think that there was, that last episode, I think they really had to sit there and pick it up. And they did with the first episode, Rick, Maggie, and Ezekiel all coming to do the Alexandria, the Hilltop, and the Kingdom, all coming together to fight Negan in that first episode, which is directed by Greg Nicotero and written by Scott Gimple. They attack the sanctuary, they take down its fences, flood it with walkers. The sanctuary, everybody leaves except for Gabriel, who saves Gregory. Gregory abandons him. And that kind of starts Gabriel's deal, with this season. And I did not like Gabriel's arc this season. I thought it was boring. I thought it was just a placeholder. I thought it was cheap. I thought it was an easy way out. And it was lazy writing to me. And then in the second season, they go to take out the outpost, the Savior's outpost. Eric, who is Aaron's boyfriend, is initially injured. He ends up dying. And Morales from season 1 came back and is now with the Saviors, and everybody was marking out over Morales coming back. I was too, but he ends up meeting a fateful death, and it's like, okay, again, lazy writing. You brung in and hyped up this one episode for this whole episode for this one character, and you kill him off within 10 minutes of him re-debuting. So they really didn't kill Morales till episode 3, but it was like right at the beginning of episode 3 because he came and confronted Rick at the end of episode 2. So the later half of the rest of the first half of season 8 was basically just them trying to get weapons and trying to outsmart the Sanctuary. The standout of this entire season to me was Stephen Ogg as Simon. I've mentioned many times on this channel that Stephen Ogg, of course, played Trevor in Grand Theft Auto 5. If you ever played that video game, you know what a character Stephen Ogg can play. And he kind of borderline tilted on Trevor in this show. You could see a lot of inspiration from it. But the standout of this season to me was Simon, Stephen Ogg. I was sad that they killed him off later on. And then in episode 5, which was the King, the Widow, and Rick goes to the trash people, the junkyard people, the JYP, and tries to convince her to turn against Negan, and they lock Rick up in a shipping container naked. Carl then encounters Sadiq, who they've met previously in the woods, recruits him to Alexandria. And then Daryl and Tara plot to deviate from Rick's plans by destroying the Sanctuary, so that screws everything up. Gregory, who is the former leader of the Hilltop, is now in a pen. Literally, it's a pen in the Hilltop with the other Saviors. So I did like the fact that Gregory finally did get his comeuppance. And even in the finale, as Tara and everybody else from the Hilltop are leaving, they ask about Gregory, and he goes, I left him inside the building. Let them have him. Let the Saviors have him. So I don't think it's the last we've seen of Gregory, but I think he's gone for now. So Dwight also played a huge part in this season for me because he ends up getting caught. And at the end, I did like Dwight's arc over, hey, I'm trying to be a double agent here. And he didn't really pull it off because they found out eventually through Negan picking up one of his lieutenants pretty much that Dwight has been helping Rick's group all along. And, Dwight ends up getting into a deal where he ends up getting, having to wear the same costume that Daryl was wearing when he got captured by the Saviors. So it was like, okay, what goes around comes around. And then at the end of the season, they send Dwight away. And I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. Because, and I know, people are going to be like, well, Joe, it's not supposed to be like it is in the comics. You stupid Mark, Joe White. This is the Stupid Mark show, so the Stupid Mark has to make his appearance, the Stupid Mark, Joe White. Walking Dead TV show. It's supposed to be like the comics. It's a retelling of the comics. Stupid Mark. But I do like it when they do follow along with the comics. And Dwight being gone just does not sit well with me. He's supposed to be running the Sanctuary after Negan gets captured. Now who's going to run that place? It's not going to be Daryl. I'm like, okay, are they swapping out Daryl for Dwight and leading the Sanctuary? Because Daryl could have his own little group now. He's kind of earned it as far as the mythology of the show. But no, we don't. Daryl shows back up at the Hilltop, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. So Eugene's arc throughout this, Eugene's turned heel, and was aligned with the Saviors, and he's making bullets for him. Rosita and Daryl end up capturing him and try to lead him back to the sanctuary, but he was eating some sardine mac and cheese before they captured him, and he pukes all over Rosita and runs back to the sanctuary and is like, those fuckers don't care about me no more, so we're going to get him. Little do we know that all along Eugene has a plan, and the plan was exploding bullets, as we found out in the finale. And they're apparently Eugene is back on good terms with Alexandria. I liked it. I wish it hadn't gone on as long as it did. Eugene should have been back at the sanctuary long before now, I did like let me see, I think it's How's It Gotta Be? Let me see here. Yeah, no, it was called The Lost and the Plunders, episode 9, where they kill off all the junkyard people except Jadis, and Jadis goes from talking like the Incredible Hulk to actually talking like a real person. And it had one of the best special effects I've ever seen in this show with the Walking Dead meat grinder, because they're in a junkyard, so they have like a grinder, and after all her people have been killed and they start waking up and becoming zombies, she leads them back to the slaughter again. So not only does she have to watch her people die once, she has to watch her people die twice. And it's probably one of the best special effects I've ever seen, with the grinders going into the walker, or into that grinder, and what came out of the grinder was just epic. It looked like they got a bunch of cat food or wet dog food and colored it red to be like the ground up walkers, but it was amazing. I love that episode. But this is where Simon gets on Negan's bad side here, because Negan tells Simon, people are a resource. Go there, kill one of them for their betrayal, but make sure they're on our page. Don't go in there being all like a cowboy. And Simon goes in there and he gets pissed off and he kills them all. And then this leads into Rick and Negan's first little fight of the season in the basement of this building. And everybody thinks Negan is dead because he doesn't come out. But Negan's not dead. And so Simon kind of takes over the Saviors, and he's trying to get Dwight on his side, but Dwight is like, I'm not going to, he kind of, again, playing that double agent. But we know that Negan's not not dead, and he shows up, and he ends up, making Dwight think he was okay. And he kills Simon with his bare hands. He doesn't use Lucille. And I loved it when they came back from commercial after he's killed. And then they cut to after they came back from commercial, they cut to Negan. And you see Simon as a walker chained up to the wall of the fence of the sanctuary. And he's just snarling like a mad dog. And that's what Stephen Ogg said. He goes, I wanted the zombie version of me to still be vicious and still be a mad dog. And that's what he did. And it came off beautifully. My only hope is that we see, maybe we'll see Simon pop back up again when we see the sanctuary again. Then it goes up to the key, where they meet a woman named Georgie who gives them food in exchange for records, and Georgie claims to have a key to the future, so they make the exchange with her, and it turns out they give her a book that, they give Maggie a book, who in this book, it's basically how to start over, how to build windmills, how to grow crops, how to make an irrigation system, how to get running water into homes. So they have now a key to the future. And this is a very important thing going forward. This is a very important thing. Georgie spoilers for the comics, is I believe she is a leader of a community called the Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth just started appearing in the comics. I think it just got underway in the comic books. So they're using material from the current issues of the comics when they are like 2 or 3 years behind storyline-wise with All Out War. So Morgan's overall storyline. Let's talk about Morgan here, because he has crossed over into Fear the Walking Dead. And I got so sick of the Morgan storyline. I really did. All season long, because of the little kid's brother getting killed that he was training, and now he's all psycho and seeing the dead ghost of one of the saviors that killed, that made him kill him. And turns out the little boy commits murder by killing the guy who killed his brother. And now Morgan's back into his clear phase, and he's gone crazy. And I don't like crazy Morgan. I'll be honest with you. I hate crazy Morgan. But I'm glad Morgan is on Fear the Walking Dead. Do I think it'll help Fear the Walking Dead? A little. It'll help them very little. It's not going to make Fear the Walking Dead be on par with The Walking Dead ratings-wise. It's just not going to work. So, they Craig and Morgan, Carol and Morgan are searching for Henry, this little kid who watched his brother die, and then he killed the guy who killed his brother. And, they end up... They're all, Rick is also hunting the Savior prisoners. And Morgan abandons Carol, and joins Rick. And together they kill all the prisoners. And Jadis tortures Negan and informs her that he had nothing to do with Simon massacring the people. And a helicopter flies nearby. Jadis tries to catch its attention, but she fails. And this turns me to another one, and that's Carl, because Rick, Michonne encourages Rick in this episode to read Carl's letters. Now let's talk about Carl, Chandler Riggs here. Chandler Riggs reveals in episode 7 of the season, the mid-season finale, that he is bitten by a walker while he was escorting Sadiq, the new doctor, to Alexandria. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes drama about why Chandler Riggs, who plays Carl, left. I think it just boils down to the fact that the boy has spent half his life on this show, and that he just wants to go be a kid. He may do some other acting, but he wants to finish school, he wants to hang out, and he wants to have a normal life, and I totally am behind that. So I think that's what it boiled down to. They say that Carl didn't want to leave, Chandler Riggs didn't want to leave the show, and that that he was blindsided by Scott Gimple, the showrunner, about him leaving and everything. I still think it was a mutual split, despite what Chandler Riggs' parents says, because Papa Riggs has to go up there on Twitter and Facebook and everything, and constantly, he's doing his son's career no favors. I'll just say it that way. But I was sad when Carl died. I got some theories on what maybe they do going forward when it comes to Carl dying. But, guys, people are going to die on this show. Hell, Rick is probably going to die before the show's over with. Hell, I mean, the writer of the comics has even said, hey, Rick is going to die before I even finish writing the comics out. So, and he's not stopping that anytime soon. So, this leads into attacks, the Savior then attacked the hilltop and heavy casualties to both sides. Negan discovers that we could dip our weapons and our ammo into the guts of walkers, and this will infect the other people, which is true to the comics. This happens. Maybe not in the exact way, but it happens. Which leads to Dwight not dipping his bullets in the monster guts, and he ends up shooting Tara in the back with an arrow, and she's not wounded. I'm so glad they did not kill off Tara, because I love Tara, and I love the woman who plays Tara. I have a crush on her. I cannot lie. Alana Masterson's just awesome. So what they did beautifully is that everybody goes to sleep. They treat the wounds. The people who were shot with the monster gut weapons, everybody thinks everything's good. And then slowly but surely, these people overnight, as they're sleeping, start getting infected and start changing. And then they start attacking everybody else. It is so well done. I love this episode. I think it was called Do Not Send Us Astray. So this ends up leading to a breakout of the Savior prisoners that are at the hilltop and the disappearance of Henry. I really did love this episode, and it led into the Still Gotta Mean Something. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the finale here. Gregory, in the previous episode, Rick is plotting out this thing. Okay, here's the hilltop. We're going to have people stationed around the hilltop here, and here. So that whenever they try to poke their heads out, bam, they're gone. And Dwight creates his own little map based on this. He gives it to Gregory, tells Gregory, run away, and while Negan is fighting and killing Simon, he tells them, Dwight tells Gregory, run back to the hilltop, give this to Maggie. This is going down tomorrow. And it turns out that Negan gave them false information because he was trying to find out if Dwight was a mole or not. Turns out he is. I discussed Dwight's whole storyline here a second ago, but it was beautifully done. Beautifully done. These last two episodes were really good. Rick, gets on the radio and tells Negan, "Hey, Carl wanted you to survive. He Rick and Carl, so it's all out war." And of course, the exploding bullets happen. Eugene ends up getting away with his plan of sabotaging everybody. Rick and Negan are fighting underneath a tree with stained glass hanging down from it, which seemed a little weird, but we kind of saw that during the previews for the whole season. So he ends up slicing Negan's neck open, his throat open, but not fatally. The Saviors, realize they've lost. Maggie's waiting for Rick to kill Negan, and Negan's looks at Sadiq and is like, save him. And Sadiq comes in and saves Negan, and Maggie's going apeshit. She is pissed. She's like, hey, we got to make it right. It's not over till he's dead. It's not over till he killed Glenn. And at the hilltop, it is, at the hilltop, the Savior, while all this is going on, the Saviors are trying to attack the hilltop. They're saved by the Oceanside people from last season and Aaron, who has convinced them to come along and fight. So basically what happens now is the survivors rebuild their community, they regroup. They're going to rebuild their communities. We see Carol going with Ezekiel to the kingdom. Daryl ends up going back to the hilltop. Rick and everybody else goes back to Alexandria to rebuild that. And then we get the scene that really got me looking forward to next season. In that, Maggie is sitting, she's now taking Gregory's place behind the desk at the hilltop. And she's sitting there like queen shit. She's awesome. And she's telling Jesus, you were right in telling me to save, to spare the Savior's lives, but you were wrong about Negan. And Jesus kind of agrees with her. And she goes, we need to rebuild. She goes, we need to get stronger. We need to get more people here. We need to make this place better defensively and offensively than it was before. And then Rick and Michonne, they're going to see. We're going to prove to them, which basically means they're going to go behind their back and invade Alexandria with the purpose of killing Negan. So, and Jesus is, sitting there nodding his head kind of, and all of a sudden Daryl walks in out of the shadows of the room. It's total Godfather Mafia-like, and goes, yeah, they'll learn. They will. So Daryl is definitely on Maggie's side. He wants Negan dead. I think from a Daryl point of view, he spared Negan's right-hand man, but he's not going to spare Negan himself. He spared Dwight, but he's not going to let Negan get away with this shit. Daryl's killing somebody with that crossbow. So they spare Negan. They tell him, you're going in a cell. Now, what people don't realize is, I think it was either last season or the season before, Morgan built a jail cell in Alexandria. And a lot of people forgot that. It happens in the comics as well. I don't know if it's Morgan who builds it, but they build a jail cell. And that's where Negan is going. Negan's going into Morgan's jail cell. He's going to get locked up. So when they say, hey, you're going to live the rest of your life in a cell, that's what they mean. So that part, they're staying true to the comic. I like that aspect. I like that they're keeping that with the comic. The slicing of the throat happens in the comics. The time skip is coming. Now let's talk about what happens afterwards in season 9 next year. So in the comics, after All Out War, they have what the story arc in the comics is called now is A New Beginning. Which is, I kind of blame the fans for this, because the fans wanted this Negan after last season sucking with the bottle episodes and this, the season 6 ending on a cliffhanger, and then this season not being what it should have been. Fans are pissed. And half of or over 3/4 of the fans, especially the comic book readers, are going, we want the Whisperers. Bring on the Whisperers. We're sick of this Negan shit. Yeah. And I have to call them stupid marks, because, they could have stretched this All Out War shit another half season. And done like a half, remember in I believe it was season 6, where one half of it was the Wolves, the other half of it was the Saviors and Negan? They could so do that next year. Wrap up All Out War, and then do, in between seasons even. The mid-season finale could have been what we got last night, and then season, the mid-season season episode 8 or 9 of season 9. Bam, we've skipped ahead. Right in the middle of it. I don't have a problem with that happening right in the middle of a season. I know a lot of people are going to be like, Joe, why you stupid, Mark? You can't have a time skip, 3-year time skip right in the middle of a season of a show. Bullshit. Hell, they do it in movies all the time. Why not TV? But here's what I think is going to happen. In the comics, I think you get a time skip of about 2 to 3 years, I want to say. So I think they're going to do that on the TV show. Judith is going to grow. She'll be probably at least 5 or 6 by the time by the time we return. Maybe even further. Maybe she's like 8 or 9. They've never really addressed how old she is in the comics at this point. We know she's old enough to walk and all that. But she's going to take Carl's place. And what I mean by that is, in the comics, again, spoilers for the comics, Carl is the one that meets the Whisperers initially. He's the one that starts dating Alpha's daughter. And Alpha, she is the leader of the Whisperers. So he starts dating Alpha's daughter. So here's what's going to happen. I think two things. It's one of two things. Either they're going to have Judith and Alpha is going to have a son, or it's going to be Enid meeting Alpha's son. And in the comics, Alpha's daughter is running away. She wants to get away from her mother, kind of. So initially, they bring Alpha's daughter into Alexandria, and that's kind of like leading the wolf into the hen house. So I think one of those two things are going to happen. Another thing I think that's going to happen is, we're going to see the continuation of Negan in that jail cell. Negan is he is Dwight level popular right now, if not more popular, or not Dwight, Daryl. He is Daryl level popular. In fact, I'll go as far as to say Negan is the most popular guy on the show right now. Has been ever since he was introduced in season 6. They're not going to kill Negan off anytime soon. Negan in the comics doesn't die anytime soon. So I think Negan will be in his jail cell talking maybe to Rick or talking to Michonne or somebody, but in the comics, it's Carl who comes and talks to Negan every day in the cell. And this is why I think that, part of me thinks they shouldn't have killed Carl off, because now I'm wondering, who are they going to get to go talk to Negan in that cell and keep him company? Another thing I think is going to happen is we're going to see Maggie have her baby in this time skip. She's either going to lose it or she's going to have the baby in this time skip. When we see Maggie at the beginning of season 9, she's going to be like breastfeeding the kid or feeding the kid a bottle, something. The kid's probably already going to be like about maybe even a year old at this point. Hell, why not 2 years old at this point? Another thing is Rick is going to have that bushy beard that we see, and the Carl's dream is going to come true in this time skip. So yeah, those are just a couple of things. I don't know if we'll see the return of Dwight, because at the end of this episode, Daryl tells Dwight, "Look, if I ever see you again, I'm killing you." That's not to say Dwight couldn't go to the Kingdom or Dwight couldn't go to Alexandria, but he won't be going to the Hilltop. But I think we've seen the end of Dwight, which makes me sad, because Dwight's supposed to stick around, I think. Another thing is Maria Bello. You may not remember, if you're not familiar with who Maria Bello is, you've seen her in Coyote Ugly. She played the owner of the bar in Coyote Ugly. That's who Maria Bello is. There have been clickbait articles and clickbait videos for like the last half of season 8 here that have said Maria Bello's coming in on the season finale. Maria Bello is going to play Alpha. We're going to see Alpha. We are going to get the Whisperers in season 8. And it didn't happen. No sign of Maria Bello whatsoever. Maria Bello has stated that she would like to play a character on this show because she knows one of the producers. She's never said, yes, I've signed up for season 9. Or, yes, I'm going to be on the show. She's never said that. Do I think it's going to happen now that all this talk and speculation is? Yeah, they'll get her. Do I think she's playing Alpha? Maybe. She's a perfect fit. But you got to remember, whoever they're going to get to play Alpha, 80% of the time they're going to have a shit ton of prosthetic makeup on them. And that's why I think that when we do get the Whisperers in next year, it's going to suck. It's going to suck royally, because The Walking Dead only has so much money to spend per episode. That's why we got the bottle episodes in season 5 and in season 6 or season 7. Because if they could focus on one or two characters and not have to bring an Andrew Lincoln or Dia Guerrera or anybody else in, a Norman Reedus, if they ain't got to bring that, those high paying people, because remember, the longer you're on a TV show, the more money you make. That's another reason why they've killed off Glenn. They killed off Abraham. That's why probably they killed off Carl. I wouldn't be surprised if like a Rosita or a Tara gets the axe next year. Because they need more money in the budget. They're going to need a shit ton of money in that budget next year if they do the Whispers for makeup and prosthetics, because you can't do this digitally. How that works in The Walking Dead is when you see a herd, the first 2 rows of walkers are decked out to the nines in prosthetics and fake blood and all that to make it look good. Then when you go back 5th, 6th, 7th row, they wear less makeup. If it's a huge herd, you go back 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever row, they're digital, which still costs a lot of money to do. But with the Whisperers, you can't digitalize them. And the Whisperers are a large group of people, about on par with what the Saviors are. So And for those who don't know what the Saviors are, spoiler alert, the Saviors, I mean the Whisperers. Sorry, guys, I'm getting tongue-tied. The Whisperers are people who wear zombie flesh over their skin as armor. And it serves two purposes. One, they can blend in with herds and walkers won't bite them. And because they're able to blend in, it makes them easier to kill people. Because the normal people come up and think, oh, you're just a walker, I can stab you in the head. But when these guys fight back, it's a total confusion. So the Whisperers are going to cost a ton of money, prosthetic-wise, to do. You're going to have to make it look like a mask that they can pull on and off, but you got to make it look like walkers. And you got to make it look like the evolved walkers that we've been seeing. So people are going, we want the Whisperers. We want the stupid Mark Joe White. We want the Whisperers. Be careful what you wish for, because they're probably not going to look very good. And expect to see more bottle episodes to help pay for the Whisperers. And also, if we do not get the bottle episodes, don't expect a whole lot going on next season storyline-wise and war-wise, because the war is over. The action's going to die down. Because you have to have a new beginning before you enter the Whisperer War. Just like you had to have a March to War before you could have All-Out War. So next season, when we get the time skip, I think Rick's biggest problem next year is going to be Maggie and her group of people, not the Whisperers. I would not be surprised the first half of next season, no Whisperers. We will not see a Whisperer until probably like a post-credit scene of episode 8, the mid-season finale, next year. So those are my predictions for season 9. Those were my thoughts on season 8 as a whole and the finale. The finale was so good. It was really good. So go check it out if you haven't watched it yet. If you're still, being spoiled by me, go check it out. It's very, very well done. The second picture I have on your screen, the one that I really want to talk about, is NASCAR is running Bristol Motor Speedway. And Bristol Motor Speedway here, I'm going to show you guys something if I can. This was a time skip, and this was back in 2016, back in leading up to September. They had just had the summer race or the fall race in Bristol, and the owner of Bristol said, let's have a football game here. The video I'm going to show you does not show the entire field. What you're looking at on your screen right now is the completion of it. But I think that Bristol Motor Speedway, God, I'm tongue-tied today, holds 160,000 people, or 162,000. It's the 4th largest sports venue in America, the 8th largest in the world. It has a big-ass I want to say this screen, man. This screen is, let me see here. It is now a 4-sided large display hung by cables over the center of the infield called Colossus TV. It is 30 feet by 63 feet. This scoreboard is. So, and you'll see it in this video I'm about to show you. They added that in 2016. But the video I'm going to show you is a time lapse of the field, the football field being constructed, because the owner of Bristol Motor Speedway kind of did a bid for this game. He paid the college's money, and I guess the NCAA money, whatever the case may be. I don't know nothing about college football movie rights, but he paid them to get this game into his stadium. But when you're watching this video here, I kind of want you to keep in mind something else here that we're going to talk about. Oh, that's not the one I want. That's what I want. Thank you. So let's take a look at this here. Let me turn the music down for you. I think that'll be okay. This is the field conversion. Now, keep in mind, they're converting this from a NASCAR-sanctioned racetrack. Okay? Just take a look. So you kind of get the idea there, and I want to go back to one thing here in this video, and my point to all this is, this is where you go and put WrestleMania at. Now, there's a lot of things here. Let's go right there. There's a lot of things here that people are going to go, stupid Mark Joe White. You can't hold a WrestleMania at a racetrack in the middle of the mountains? Stupid Mark. You're just as stupid as that dinosaur you got on your screen. I know this will never happen. It's a fan theory. It's a theory that I could have here for you. Look at this place on your screen right here. Look at this place. If they can do WrestleMania at the shitty Citrus Bowl, well, Joe White, that's in Florida. I know. I'm going to get there. If they could do WrestleMania in that shitty-ass Citrus Bowl in Orlando, like they did for 24 and like they did it last year at 33. Imagine what they could do here. 160 people, 1,000 people, just in the stands, folks. Now, here's how you offset this. Let me just have this theory, guys. I know it's not going to happen. And there's many reasons why it'll never happen. I'll go into it right now. One, there's no way the city of Bristol is going to pay WWE the amount of money they would need to hold WrestleMania there, let alone the next night's Raw and SmackDown. Okay? But I think it's possible. I don't know if they have a big arena in Bristol. I don't think they do. But you can always head over to Knoxville or Chattanooga the next night. Why does Raw have to stay in the same... Oh, Joe White, it's become a tradition. The main event is WrestleMania. It's always held the city. The Raw afterwards got to be held there. The SmackDown afterwards got to be held there. The NXT's got to be held in the same city. Joe White's a big fan week. You can't do WrestleMania week in BFE, Tennessee. I know. But why can't we have a break in tradition just for one fucking year? Okay? I don't know the details of Bristol. Maybe they got a convention center you could hold WrestleCon at. Maybe they got a couple small arenas nearby that you could do your Ring of Honor and your Evolve bullshit shows at. You know, PW whatever and all that bullcrap, Ring of Honor. And, you know, then they may have a bigger building around near there where you could hold NXT and Monday Night Raw. I doubt it. I don't know. If somebody knows what they have, what they don't have, let me know in the comments below. But this is just my theory for WrestleMania to be held here. Again, it's a wild, out of control bullshit theory. But it's possible. You could do it. You could very much do this. Let me you can see the pointer on my screen. Let me here's what you do. You clear the infield. This part is called the infield right here, if you can see. Oh, you can't see. Let me see. Show cursor. There we go. See if I can reload that here. It's not going to let me do it. But on the far side of your screen up top, that's where your set goes. On the top half of your screen, the top half of the track, which would be, I believe that is turns 1 and 2. That's where your set goes. It's where you have your locker room at, blah, 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 blah. Now, the problem is that this isn't exactly designed to be a sports stadium more than a racetrack, because on the other side of those bleachers, there's nothing there. There's no building there. To the best of my knowledge, it's probably just a set of staircases. But knowing WWE, you could build a fucking locker room. You put up a couple of tents with some goddamn chairs in there and some heaters, heaters, air conditioners. Come on. Let's be realistic here. They've probably had to do that in far worse places than a fucking racetrack. They used to hold shows under a tent. Up in the Northeast, they used to do the tent shows every year. So don't tell me it can't be done. So I'm trying to see if I can reload this here. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can remove this and then re-add it. I'm sorry, guys. I thought it was going to let me capture my... it's still not letting me do it. Okay. Oh, there it is. So right up here, this is where you have your set. You can have them walk out, whatever. Even over here, maybe. Because you got these buildings on the side, your garages and everything. We'll get to down here in a minute. But up here, you know, you have your set. Right underneath this screen right here, right underneath Colossus, which is right in the middle of the track. That's where you put your ring. And yes, you do like to do at any outdoor show. You put the 4 columns, the big ass ring set, whatever the case may be. You could even, this kind of works out in WWE's favor, because those big zip line cams that they have, you could attach them right here to these cables, I bet. You could even launch pyro off of here, probably. You could take up here and launch pyro. Hell, look at this picture that I have. They're launching pyro off the stadium. So you have your entranceway, big ass entranceway. Now this is probably going to cut out about 10,000 seats. But you put your ring here. Look at all the floor seating you got. You got floor seating that could go back here. You got floor seating that could go here. You got seating that could go on the pit road areas. There's 2 pit road areas. The back stretch, the front stretch. Maybe not the turns because they're banked a little bit, but the apron, yes. Or, if you want to use this banking, you put risers right here. You put bleachers right here. Now, maybe it'll block who sits bottom here, but again, this is just a harebrained idea that I got yesterday while watching the race. So, but right here, you know what you do right here? In this building right here, you know what you do right here? You charge VIP seating because that's a fan deck. People sit up here. People could sit up here too. So you charge premium pricing for this. Why? Because they're going to have really good seats. And the people back here won't be obstructed because they're lower down. It's sunk in. This, you know, Bristol calls itself the last great Coliseum for a reason, because of the way this place is shaped. I mean, look at it. Look at it again from above. That looks freaking amazing. Here, I'll enlarge it a little bit for you guys, since we're not talking about Walking Dead anymore. Damn OBS. This one. Thank you. Look at that. They did that for a college football game. So, let's go back to this image here. Wrong one. Let me move that down. So, you know, you put fans. You can put fans up here, and you can have your ring. Your long entrance ramp could be here. You know, hell, you could probably even use this building, which is a garage area, for your locker room. And when they come out, you know, put them up, you know, have them go around the locker room, whatever. I don't know. Again, logistically, it can be done. There is a lot of logistics in the way, you know. But again, they've probably dealt with worse. WWE has. And then you have Colossus right here. Big-ass TV screen. This is what you use for your Tron. Besides on the set, you use this for your Tron above the ring. I think it could work. Now, again, there's a lot of factors that go into this. It's Bristol, by God, Tennessee. It's right on the Virginia-Tennessee border. It's not a destination city. But honestly, it's WrestleMania. WrestleMania is the draw. You could hold WrestleMania in Timbuktu, and people will go. That's how good it is at this point. You have Gatlinburg and all that stuff nearby, about another hour or so away, so people could go, you know, there and get trashed and go out to eat. And it's, you know, there's stuff to do around Tennessee and Virginia, folks, believe it or not. another thing again, where are you going to hold Raw? Where are you going to hold SmackDown? Where is the idiots going to hold, the one fall wrestling matches and WrestleCon and all that other indie shit? Ring of Honor, of course, is now a huge draw. NXT, Hall of Fame, all that. I think they can figure it out. I really do think they can figure it out. But this is if they could do this for a football game, they could do it for a WrestleMania. And you could use the hashtag. It's Bristol, baby. Hashtag WrestleMania Bristol. There's lots of shit that they could do here for this show if they wanted it to happen. What do you guys think? Is this idea possible? I think it is. Hell, again, even if, you're doing the Raw and SmackDown, the next night in the Hall of Fame over in Knoxville, it's not that far away. Hell, maybe there's an arena in Bristol that I don't know about. Again, I didn't do much research to all that because I'm focusing on the main show. I'm focusing on WrestleMania. 160,000 people breaking that attendance record sounds mighty awesome to me. Mighty awesome to me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Oh, man, I know. Joe's gone. Stupid Mark. Joe White. That's it. You've done it. You've gone off the fucking deep end, Joe White. Can't save you now. Oh, man. Also, what do you think about this Stupid Mark show? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to get out of here. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Joe Pillar to Post. Become a Patreon supporter for just $1 a month. That gets you everything as well as I'm still trying to figure out the audio version of this after show. For some reason, it's not recording properly. But we'll get there. And tomorrow or sometime later this week, I'm going to have a very special thing for my Patreons, given everything that's happened with Billy Mitchell. And for those of you who don't know, I'm not going to go on a big rant about this. Billy Mitchell was the first guy ever to play a perfect game of Pac-Man and beat Pac-Man, as it were. He was also one of the very first people to reach a Donkey Kong kill screen. And if you ever, it's come out in the last few days that Billy had video proof to prove that he was the first man to ever reach 1 million points in the video game Donkey Kong. It's now been proven that Billy Mitchell cheated. He used an emulator or a device capable of cheating. Let's put it that way for those not in the know. So Twin Galaxies, who is the official video game scoreboard, has stripped Billy Mitchell of all his records. If you don't know who Billy Mitchell is, look this guy up. He's a real fucking wanker, okay? He's a class act unto himself. He's so damn into himself, it's pathetic. But they've since in the last few days erased all of Billy Mitchell's scores, and Billy Mitchell is no longer allowed to post scores to Twin Galaxies. So what I'm going to do this week, all of this kind of got started and all of this kind of got popular again about 10 years ago with the release of the King of Kong documentary. If you haven't seen the King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, you need to go watch it. It's a really good documentary. There's parts of it that are completely fictitious and made up and twisted to fit the narrative, but that's any documentary, really. So go watch that. But what I'm going to do for my Patreon supporters is this week, I'm going to record live commentary for the King of Kong, kind of like what I did for my True Life I'm a Pro Wrestler video. And I'm going to do that for the King of Kong this week. And it's going to be great because I love that movie so much and I have a lot to say about it. But that wraps it up for this first edition of the Stupid Mark Show. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we'll see you down the road. Stupid Mark.